During the 20-year war in Afghanistan, thousands fled the country. Many ended up not too far away in India. But, as Neha Punia reports, refugees there are still trying to carve out a space for themselves.
This isn't Afghanistan, but it's close. As you walk through the streets of this New Delhi neighborhood, it's easy to forget you're in India's national capital. Welcome to Little Kabul. It's the largest settlement of Afghan refugees in India and home to 21-year-old Jamshed Faizi and his cousin. They run a traditional Afghan bakery selling bread or naan uzbeki, a trade their family has been in for generations. A patriot, Jamshed always wanted to serve his country and join the Afghan army. But the conflict at home forced him to flee to India, where this is the only job he can do.
काम यहाँ पे ऐसा है जो है कि हम लोग काम के बारे में जितना भी सोचते हैं जैसे सोचो कोई सी दलदल में फंसे हुए हो, क्योंकि आप काम के बारे में जितना भी सोचोगे इससे आगे बढ़ नहीं पाओगे, कोई और काम के बारे में सोच भी आप ही नहीं पाते हो.
Like most of the 20,000 Afghans who live in India, Jamshed and his cousin aren't officially recognized as refugees. India doesn't have a domestic policy that outlines how all refugees should be treated. And to find a job, open a bank account, enroll in school or college, Afghans need a government-issued ID card. That's only possible if they are granted a long-term visa, a long and bureaucratic process. A fellow Afghan, Ahmed Ghani, was able to get the paperwork 9 years ago when he and his family fled Afghanistan. Over a cup of tea, Ghani tells me he was lucky that he could prove to the UNHCR, the UN's refugee agency, that he had a valid reason for seeking asylum in India. He fled after he was forced to pay his life savings in ransom to the Taliban to free his kidnapped son. Now he heads an advocacy group that campaigns for better rights for Afghan refugees in India.
पता है उन लोगों का उन देश का तो ऐसे लॉ है कि अगर कोई जाएंगे सब रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी गवर्नमेंट लेती है जब तक वो लोग सेटल हो जाएंगे. एक चीज़ सबसे ज़्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट है कि आपका फैथ, आपका फ्यूचर. अगर यहाँ ठीक है खाना पीना कल्चर सेम, बोले जीने का फैसिलिटी नहीं होती है, आप जी नहीं सकते इन लोगों के बीच में.
Earlier this month, he led this 2-week-long protest outside the UNHCR's office in Delhi. For years, they've been living at the very fringe of society. They say they can no longer go back home, but increasingly staying on in India, despite its many freedoms, is becoming a daily struggle. These Afghan refugees say they should either be given the status of permanent refugees or be relocated to another country where they have access to better opportunities and can finally live, they say, a life of dignity. When Afghan refugees first come to India, they get issued temporary ID cards from the UNHCR and are considered asylum seekers. The UN agency decides on a case-by-case basis who can be granted refugee status. For 6 years, Meena and her sister Sarah have waited for clarity on their application. Without papers, 18-year-old Sarah can't go to school and is worried her dream of becoming a doctor will remain a dream.
उनके बच्चों के 1 साल वेस्ट ना हो, वो क्या नहीं करते हैं ताकि उनके 1 साल वेस्ट ना हो, और हमारे यहाँ 6 साल 10 साल 12 साल 13 साल वेस्ट हो जाती है, तो हमारी फ्यूचर क्या होगा फिर? कौन रिस्पॉन्सिबल है इन सब चीज़ों के लिए?
India does allow some refugees to become citizens. 2 years ago, India's Hindu-majority government passed a law that fast-tracks citizenship for refugees from certain religions. Muslims, like the Afghans living in India, are not among them.
They should not worry about their refugee status at present, but ultimately whether they will get the citizenship right or other things in a long-term basis, that the government will have to look into many aspects of the situation. Then only it can be said on anything, taken on a firm position on that.
It's why Jamshed doesn't want his sisters and brothers who are still in Afghanistan to come to India anymore. He's safe here, but his future in India, like that of thousands of other Afghans, looks as uncertain as when they first fled their country. Neha Punia, CNA, New Delhi.